LinkedIn. It's 28th of August, 2024. It is 12:30 BST. I'm calling it now. It's officially the end of the British summer. It's the middle of the day here, and it's dark outside and raining, which is about standard for the British summertime that we have every year. That lasts about a week. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again or watching this back. As always, it's massively appreciated. And all the support that we get and that I get on this is hugely appreciated. Anyone that doesn't know the format, I get questions from the esteemed LinkedIn public, our customer base, random people I've never met before. It's great all week. And I try and do my best to answer those every Wednesday. Usually 3 to 5 questions that we get every week. Try not to take too long doing this. Yeah, hopefully people walk away with this with a bit more value every week. We add that week on week and see where we get to with things in terms of the end of the year. So let's have a look. This is ad hoc. There's a dog barking in the background. You can hear that. This is how we roll in Midweek Madness. So without further ado, let's jump into this week's Midweek Madness questions and see where we get to. So first question. I have a question about our CRM data strategy. What is the best for a startup versus the best for an established recruitment agency? Okay, good question. So the scale in this question, right? And I'll try my best to like compartmentalize it. I actually don't think the answer is too different for either of them. I don't think that the answer between what a startup is looking for necessarily and what a more established or even like much bigger business, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference what people are looking for. But if we start with maybe startup first, I think around that. So the first thing, I think of this as somebody who's bought systems as a startup and for more established businesses as well. The first thing that we want to look at is what is the scalability and the flexibility if you're a startup. So what I've come to notice and know is that when you're a small business, things are quite fluid, very fluid. And you can't be stuck with a system that is like really rigid around what you do. Sure, there are best practices that you can take from that system, but you don't want to get really pigeonholed and stuck with it where you can't like change fields or map things to your processes. Because what's going to happen is as a startup, you're going to like find your own way and your own path. And as you grow and grow and grow, you're going to modify that. If you've got a system at the start that isn't flexible enough to do that, then I think that's a really bad starting point. And on that, the data strategy that you have as a startup, I would say like get it structured like now, like get it in place early so that you are not like a year down the line trying to rehash everything, or worse, like 3 years of data down the line when you try and rebuild your data strategy. So focus on like the essential fields that you're going to use and then know how they're going to be part of your like their CRM strategy, maybe for 3, 5+ years, maybe longer if you can think that far ahead. Think about how that works as well. You're a small business, so I presume that you don't have a huge amount of staff. So automation is probably going to be important. Obviously, there's a lot going on in that space right now. I think that's cool. I think just leveraging automation is a really important thing to be able to do because you're going to want to try and do the job of like 30 to 40 people if you're like 10 people. And automation can do that. So I think that's a key thing to be able to think about when you're buying it. Obviously, when you're a smaller business, cost is important. I think you're going to have to find one that kind of balances, like a CRM system that balances a lot of different things, but also has a price point that isn't going to break the bank. I don't think you need to be paying like top dollar for CRM systems when you're starting out, especially if you're like a couple of staff in your business. I don't think you need to be like right at the top of the cost chain to do that. There will be people who say, yeah, but if you buy that system, then it's set up and you're good to go for life. And I'll take that, right? I'll take that point. But I don't think that you need to be thinking, hey, what's the most expensive system in the industry and what can we do with that? So I don't think that that's a thing that we need to be thinking too much about or worrying too much about. I'd say just get a good cost-effective system to go ahead with. Also, and I know this because I had a system that did this once. I think as a startup, like how easy it is to interact with the software that you've got, like the user interface and like how that easy it is to navigate is key, because you do not want to be like spending all of your time training new people on how systems work. You really don't want to be having to do that. You want to have your systems in a place where you just can jump in and use them. And if you've got like a really difficult to use user interface or any of that kind of stuff, then it's an absolute nightmare. It's a genuine nightmare for you as a business. So get something that's really easy to use and does a lot of different things, and you're probably in a good space with that as well. And finally, just, if there is any like systems and software, I think one of the strongest selling points that you've got as a small business is the focus that you've got on a customer. So if there's any tools there that help with like advocacy or like really easy client customer relationship management within the CRM, I know that's kind of part of the CRM, but anything that's really easier helping you manage like advocacy and control that, I think is a real bonus, because, I run a small business, and I think it's really important that you can, that you're able to like drive better customer relationships as much as anything. So I think that's a really, really key thing. So there's some of the things I'd look out for as a startup. I think all of those are still relevant if I think about it for like medium-sized businesses, larger businesses as well. I think just as you kind of go up the value chain, you sort of get more advanced. So more advanced automation, and obviously AI now is going to be really important for that. So if I'm running it for I don't know how big established it is on this, but if we're running it for an established recruitment agency, then that data needs to be kind of feeding into an AI product, into an automation product, and we want to leverage far more automation. So you're probably just looking for something a bit more advanced that can kind of scale with the amount of data that you have. As an established agency, you're going to have more data than a startup. That's a fact. And I think if you can get something that then manipulates that data in a way that positively impacts outcomes, that's going to be key for you as well. Integrations and the level of customization are going to be key around that. So you're going to want a tool that can, that has an open API, that has webhooks all over it, that you can plug into different software. Some will be out of the box, some will need to be built. That's fine. That's just the way it is. But you want a product that can then start to bring everything, hitting microphones. You want a product that can bring everything together into one place, ideally. And the CRM might not end up being the point of truth, because you might have like a data lake or vault. We used to call it years ago, volcanic vault. You might have a data vault. You might have something that is out there that you can put data in, and that becomes a central repository. That's why people use things like Power BI and Tableau and things like that. But just the nature of being able to integrate with those data products is probably a pretty good indicator of whether your system can work or not with that as well. I think this is important for startups, but I think it gets more important, this next piece, for more established businesses, which is, and I think it's a follow-on maybe from what I was just saying, but having a tool that has like data-driven insights available within it. So having that ability to kind of three-dimensionally cut up your analytics. I use three-dimensionally in a very technical term there. So anyone that has ever done any database work before will understand what I mean there. But having that ability to interrogate data from the third dimension as well, and bring that report together to understand like how deep a report goes, etc., and like how A can impact B, can impact C, or is impacting. I think that's really important, and I think the top CRMs that are out there do that well. They have those types of analytics products built into them to be able to interrogate that type of data. So I think that's important to look at. I've sat at dinner tables and met with a lot of CIOs in the past, and just the higher up the chain you get with your CRM system, data security and compliance is going to get up there as well. So obviously you've got your UK data protection, or the Data Protection Act in the UK, the UK GDPR, as people call it. You're going to have that in every country. There's going to be some kind of data protection laws that are available. And making sure that you've got a system that's compliant with that is going to be key, and that the data storage and how that is all managed is robust enough to stop leaks. I don't think you're ever going to be impenetrable, right? I don't think that exists. But you can make it really difficult and protect your data as much as possible, and do all the reasonable things you can do to protect data. And purely from a marketing standpoint, I think it's going to be really important for the bigger agencies out there to have CRM software that can segment and personalize data interactions with your candidates and your clients as well. So if you've got a system that can do that, I think that's a big win for you. That's out there as well. So just that ability to be able to like cut up data into behavioral data or different user data, whatever it might be, I think is really important for bigger businesses. And then maybe see how that segmentation can work with another third-party piece of marketing software. I can push it into maybe email marketing campaigns or WhatsApp or SMS, whatever it might be. I think that's a really key piece to do as well. So yeah, there's a lot there to answer that question. It's not an easy question to answer that. I think, again, largely a lot of the stuff that as a startup that you want to be thinking about, I tell the story all the time. I met with a very, very smart CFO once, and he said to me, he ran a company that did all the cabling. They sold all the cable for like the London Underground. It's like a lot of cable that they sell. I was working on a web project for them, and they said, look, when we were like £1 million, we wanted to look like we were a £10 million company. And when we were at 10 million, we wanted to look like 100 million. They're like, now we're 100 million. We need to look like a 500 million, £1 billion kind of business. I think that's sort of how I would think about your software. Like if you're like a zero business, think of like 1 million and what your data might want to look like when you're at 1 million. And then you'll get to 1 million. It's like, right, we need to make sure now that 10 million, we're set up for that. I think if you're always thinking in those terms, you'll always keep growing. I think that's a pretty hard and fast rule that I would go ahead with. So hopefully you found that useful and that answered your question. Question 2. The weather outside is so bad. I don't know if you can hear this, but the rain is so hard outside my window. Do you have any tips for recruitment marketers that have to balance lead gen and employer branding strategies? Wow, this is a tough one. Okay. For years, I thought they were just totally different things, and I was wrong. And my view on this has changed, and so I'll try and answer this the best I can as like how both can be the same. If you've got a lot of people in your marketing team, you can treat both separately. I will kind of caveat that answer with that, where you can have people that are focusing on more kind of PR related stuff and more digital PR, employer brand stuff. I kind of mentally class those are the same things. And then we've got like lead gen, and lead gen, let's just call that demand gen, and let's call that like candidates and clients, maybe, and consultants maybe as well. But I'll try and answer it as like a merged thing. And I'll say the thing that I say on every time I get a question that looks something like this. The first thing is that you want to make sure that the goals of your business macro whole, are aligning with the goals of what you're trying to achieve as a marketer or as a marketing department. There is no point going into any of this where you're completely misaligned. Like, it does not work. You lose trust from your senior leadership. Like that just is what happens. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that if you haven't got all of the resource in the world, you're going to have to not balance. You're going to have to blend the two together, would be my advice. And just try and blend these into one attack until it comes to a day when you've got 5 or 6 people and you can maybe start to split out. The first one is align your goals and your objectives with that of your business. And you're going to want to make sure that, again, that those strategies are fully integrated together, and that your employer brand is a lead gen strategy, and that your lead gen enhances your employer brand. You're going to have to see them as like, sounds like I'm on The Apprentice, but like symbiotically working together. That's the first thing I would want to do. So now that we've kind of realized that they might just be the same thing, that we've aligned where we're trying to go, that the business knows, hey, you're not going to get both here. It's just unrealistic, but that we're going to treat them as the same thing. We're integrating the strategy. Let's think about how we can do this. So the first piece might be that we go down like more content marketing. So case studies, we push this hard. We haven't got a huge marketing team. We've just expanded it, but we haven't got a massive marketing team. But case studies support both your employer brand and your lead generation at the same time. You're saying, aren't we a great business? P.S. We might be a great business to do business with. We have some amazing case studies. Side note, go and check them out. But that is a key thing that I would look at. Also, you can use those case studies really to highlight like your values and your culture of your business. It can really come out through those case studies. So that's one thing. The other side is storytelling. I think there's a lot of different ways to do this through your kind of content marketing, but you can storytell in lots of different ways. But you can storytell in hey, we're working with this amazing business. Because we do this, we've been working for a long time. We've been able to open these doors, blah, blah, blah. Also, we've got a couple of great roles that are on at the moment with them. These roles are perfect for. All of a sudden, the story becomes the lead gen, and that's a big employer brand thing as well. That's going to work for your clients. It's going to work for your candidate strategy as well. So content marketing it's not free because nothing's free, but it is a cheaper way of creating really high value kind of blended content across the two things. Now, I guess probably should have taken a step back there. There is a bit that I would do a little bit before that, which is I'd probably look at like how we're going to target these campaigns as well. So segmenting our audience is going to be key. Back to that first question, how are we going to segment our audience to focus our demand gen and lead generation, things like that as well. So you're probably going to want to build that type of thing into your strategy from the start. I probably should have mentioned that. I was thinking about that then. You want to know who you're actually going to be doing your lead gen and your employer branding to, and making sure that you're really clear on who your ideal customer profile is. I think if you don't know your ICP, you're doomed. You're destined to fail from the start anyway. So we get a really clear ICP and then understand how this content is going to be positioned to them as well. So think about where they're going to land, like how you're going to build landing pages for them, all those kind of things you want to look at. You want to also think about how when you're putting this up, so if we do some content marketing and we put some pieces out there, how are we going to use the analytics off the back of that to know whether it's landing or not? So like analytics for lead generation is going to be really important, and that's going to be more direct metric driven stuff around conversions, like close rates. It's going to be time to hire, time to place type of stuff. It's going to be your number of applications, conversion rate by source, all those kind of things are going to be your lead gen. But then you need a separate bank of metrics for your employer brand stuff, and that might be like eyes on content. It might be shares, it might be likes, it might be the more kind of softer engagement stuff. If we've got our audience and then we know the data that we're going to be measuring, I think, and then we've got buy-in from the senior leadership because it's clearly aligned to our objectives, then I think that's a really, really important thing to feed back on, because we want to say to our whole business, this is the work that we're doing. We haven't got a huge team, but this is how we're going to monitor the success of both sides of this at once. So I think that's a really important thing to look at. And it's going to be balanced, right? You're not going to have A1 performance in both. I don't think you're going to have that anyway. So you're going to have a really balanced performance here. But that's the point, right? We haven't got all the resource in the world necessarily to do this. If you do have all the resource in the world, treat it separately. Yeah, treat it separately. You're still going to have completely different metrics for both. Not completely different, but you're going to have different metrics for both. So that's important. We want to also look at cross-departmental kind of collaboration. I said this on maybe last week or the week after about how you don't have one person in marketing, you have a team in the whole company that you can really drive this with. And the balance here isn't really a balance, because we're saying actually everyone is responsible for lead gen and everyone is responsible for pushing our employer brand, and they're going to all enhance the content that we put out, and they're going to go and create their own content as well. So encouraging that collaboration between your marketing, sales, kind of whole recruitment process is really key for this, because you want to align your strategy with their strategies. And I think when you've got everyone kind of working together in that more, I'm going to use the word balance a lot here, but in that balanced approach, I think that's really important. So I would get that done. Other ways, social media for me is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to really bring these two together. Because social media lets us put content out all the time. It's what I'm doing now. It lets us talk to the world. It lets us inform. It's like the best networking event that you can go to. I think networking events are really good for lead generation, but I also think they're good for telling the world about you and that you exist. I think social media is very, very similar in that respect, especially for recruitment companies. And so having a dual strategy that you approach with, hey, here's our jobs. That's a lead gen for candidates. Here's some jobs. Here's some case studies. That's more employer brand, but also can be lead gen. You can blend the content strategy really easy through your likes of LinkedIn or through Facebook or Instagram or X or whatever it might be, TikTok. You can blend the content that you position, and you can segment your audience, and then you can review the data that you're pushing for that back to each of those different sources. So social media really is like the focal point for me for a lot of this type of stuff. I think it's absolutely key for it. And if you think about that content marketing piece, testimonials, not just case studies, but testimonials, the employee stories, when I think about it, I think it's cool to see when recruitment businesses put like, here's the story of this person's journey with us, the types of work that they do, the types of placements that they make, the type of customers that they work with. I love that kind of stuff. I think that's a really good lead gen, maybe longer term, but I think it's a good lead gen avenue, but it's a brilliant employer brand strategy. Get to know the people that you're speaking to and working with, promote that. Hey, my name's Matt. I'm an expert in Ruby on Rails development. Here's my background. These are the type of companies I work with. Here's the last 2 deployments. The most interesting job that I've worked on was this for this reason. These are the types of companies that I love work. That's great content. It's really good content. And I'd get that out as much as possible. So really look at leveraging that type of stuff. Social media is a focal point for that as well. And then obviously once you're doing all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of different ways to do this to kind of balance the two together. But you want to keep adjusting this and measuring and your performance back on it. I think that's a really important thing, where you just don't let it sit and go, oh, well, it didn't work. We didn't get a lot of like views. It takes time, right? It takes time to build a brand. I mentioned a few weeks ago about podcasts and how there's a lot of recruiters now using podcasts to open themselves up into new industries. It's the same for employer brand strategy. It's going to take time. Your lead gen might go really quick, or it might not. But you've got to be patient. You've got to create a content calendar. You've got to be consistent with what you're doing. Consistency is just the key. Be visible as much as you possibly can, and the results will come. People will start to notice you. The algorithms will enjoy what you're doing. The algorithms want more content. That's what they want. Instagram's algorithm wants more content. LinkedIn's algorithm wants more content, because the content is what keeps engagement up. It keeps our brains thinking, I need to go back to that app. It keeps user figures up. It makes shareholders happy in their businesses. It drives ad revenue. So, think about how you're going to kind of push this content out and be consistent with it as much as possible, and then refine and refine and refine. So hopefully that gives you an answer. And our final question, we have 3 questions today. Final question. What can we do to try to replace the traffic from Indeed? Oh, I laugh. What can we do to try to replace the traffic from Indeed, as we don't want to pay for their traffic? Who does? I've got a really unpopular thing to say here, and this is one person's opinion, purely my opinion. It's not reflective of anything else, but it was a lot of businesses didn't know they were getting all their applications from Indeed. And I've been speaking about this for years. I don't know if anyone has ever listened. Maybe no one listens to this, but I've been speaking about this for years. It was free traffic, and at some point it was going to end. Ask the job board market. Go and find somebody who ran a job board in 2017, or maybe 2017, that closed down. Ask them what they think about what happened, because it's the same thing. It was like, come and get your free traffic. We'll give you free traffic. Give us your content, which they call jobs content. Give us your content, and we'll give you free traffic back. Just let us know who your end customer is, so that we can, like, I don't know how they actually sold that in. People did it, but like, give us your end customer, and they did. All these job boards and ATSs gave the end customer, and then Indeed just went direct to those employers and said, "Oh, hey, we'll give you a discounted rate on Indeed ads." And then they pulled all that free traffic, and then the job boards were left without anybody. Right? Look at the returns on job boards now; it's diminished dramatically from the heyday. And it's the same thing that happened with recruitment agencies. And I was at an event once, and these are not my words, but I was at an event once where somebody said to somebody from Indeed who was on stage. And I think Indeed's got a great spot, by the way. I don't think people should slag it off as much as they do. I think it's got its place. But somebody said, you were like a crack dealer. You gave us it all for free until we were hooked, and then you took it away and told us we had to pay for it. But that's business. That's business, right? That is supply and demand. They created their own demand, then they cut the supply, and they increased the cost on it. And like it or not, that's what happened. We're not here to talk about that. Maybe we are. I could talk all day about that. What can we do, right? And I'm going to use the word blend. The theme of today has been blending things. So the first thing you want to do is look at optimizing your website. I'm going to say that naturally. It's what my domain. Make sure your website is converting as highly as it possibly can, just from the existing traffic without Indeed. I mean, you're not getting Indeed traffic anymore. So just make sure that it converts the highest possible rate. Make sure that it's fresh, it's new, it looks great. The user experience all the way through is as good as it can be. That you've got call to actions at every endpoint that you could possibly have on blogs, on specialism pages, on whatever it might be. Get that all in. Get that optimized. Got the whole thing. Optimize your job posting. Get your consultants writing the best possible job posting from now on, right? Make sure the website is set up for SEO fundamentally from a technical aspect as a top priority. Invest in bringing a consultant in, an SEO consultant in to help that. Get it as good as it can be, like relatively as good as it can be. That's going to give you the foundation, right? That's going to be our foundation now, right? Forget about Indeed. That's going to be our new foundation. It's going to take time, this, because you're not going to win it overnight. Social media is going to be the first thing. We need to start leveraging that. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, get employee advocacy going across all of those to build traffic back into the website, posting links back into the website, posting links back to the comments, sharing your content that you're creating, sharing your case study pages, whatever that might be. You need to do that. You need to have all of these people driving additional referral social traffic into your business, because we're trying to plug the gap from the traffic, but also the conversions. Remember, Indeed was driving traffic to job pages. It wasn't just driving it to your homepage. It wasn't driving it to your blog. It wasn't driving it to the contact us page. It was driving it directly to jobs, to job pages, so people apply. That's how it worked. That's why it was so good. I'm not saying everyone placed everybody that came through it, because there's a lot of rubbish there, but no offense to people that are rubbish, but there was a lot of chaff. There was a lot of people legally we couldn't place. So think about how we're going to drive more job landing page traffic. That's the first one. I mentioned this before. Your content marketing, your blogging, your video content. Get up on your video content. Advertising your jobs. You need your consultants to leverage their own networks and build their own networks out now and drive people back from those networks to the job landing pages. We are in a backfill strategy zone right now. We need to backfill that. So that is absolutely key, that we've got people driving good, relevant content, either back to blogs or back to the jobs, back to video content, whatever it might be. We need to start to think about how we're doing that. As a marketer, email marketing, how do we get our database and send, in fact, I'm not going to call it email marketing. I'm going to call it like exterior job marketing, right? Let's run with that for now. EJM, we're gonna run with that. So WhatsApp, SMS, Facebook Messenger, whatever it might be. How are we going to nurture talent through those platforms? How are we going to drive them back? How are we going to deliver a client-focused newsletter? How are we going to drive more candidates back to job landing pages? And I'm not talking just firing hopeful job alerts out. I'm talking about specific stuff here. How are we going to do that? That's going to have to be part of your strategy. I talk about this every week now. It feels like, get a referral program in place. Get candidates referring candidates. What I want you to do is look at the number of candidates that we're actually ever placed from Indeed. That's the first thing we want to do, is like, what is the pounds, pence, dollars, euros, yen, wherever we are in the world, currency, impact of losing this Indeed traffic? Has it actually led to any impact in our revenue? It might not have done, but we need to find that out first. But then we're going to look at how can we improve things like referral programs, get a candidate referral program. Oh, hey, it's been amazing working with you. I say this every week. It's been amazing working with you. How do I put this in front of, how do you put our company in front of your friends that are also unhappy in your horrible company that you work at and couldn't wait to leave? Because I'll pay you £500 per person. I bet they know people. If you're watching this and you've ever been unhappy in a job, you knew that there were 5 other unhappy people in that job. You knew. So if you went to them at lunch and said, hey, I'm out of here. I'm working with an amazing recruiter though. Do you want me to give you the details and know how unhappy you are? That person's not going to go, how dare you? I might be unhappy, but I am loyal. Like, it's not going to happen, right? It just doesn't happen like that. So think about it, referral programs. I still think there's a place for other job boards. I think like niche job boards that exist, I think there's a place for that. So think about those, how we might want to work with them, how we might drive traffic from those. I think there's still a place for that. What else? I didn't mention. So pay-per-click, might want to pay for some of that traffic from other sources. So how do we do that for Google Ads, social ads, like TikTok, Facebook ads, Instagram? We're running an amazing pilot right now. I think it's just about to start with Wunderkind out of Amsterdam. Amazing company, brilliant product, which does full end-to-end social tracking through the Meta products. So we take people in the journey. They post some amazing job ads out that are all programmatic through social only. We take that back through the website. We convert that person. We then get conversion conversion data to say that this person converted, because these social media platforms have access to so many people and so much data, it can then automatically start to then send ads to similar people like that person who might also be interested in the types of jobs that you've got without you having to do much. Insane. No one's ever done it before. We're piloting that with Wunderkind at the moment, and a customer that we have, which is a very forward-thinking customer. That's going to be awesome. But think about how we can do this through different pay-per-click and social media. And what we can do for that, and retargeting campaigns through our website. Get your retargeting campaign set up. Oh, it looks like you were on some jobs on our website but didn't actually convert. Hey, here's some other jobs that we think you might be interested in because you looked at XYZ. Just do it, right? It's all this all tech you can use right now. Like, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Other things, what can we do? Testimonials, I've talked about. Reviews, client reviews, case studies, those types of things are really good. I mean, there is one which is fairly obvious, but again, gets missed, which is, what are we doing on things like our ATS, our CRM system? Like, how are we not leveraging that as a platform? You know, why are we not leveraging our CRM? It's full of candidates. I bet most of the candidates that we get, we've already had in our CRM anyway. Let's do some re-engagement exercises with our CRM system. And let's see if we can drive some candidate placements out of that. Because if Indeed brought in 5 placements a year, let's just say it brought in 20 placements a year, and we then do a re-engagement campaign with our own database that we're not paying for, and it brings in 25, then for free, we actually close more business than we would have done just with Indeed. And those people that you got from Indeed might have already been in your CRM anyway. You don't know that, but they might have been in the CRM anyway. So, like, have a think about how that is all working as well. And then there's lots of other things. We could do webinars, we could do virtual events, we could do physical events, we could partner with different businesses and all those kind of things. So really, it's a blended approach for me. Think about how this blended approach is going to work. But you're going to have to get stuck into this. I've been talking about this for so long, and there's still a lot of business owners that don't know that they've lost a lot of their application traffic through their website. If you are unsure, drop me a message, give us a call. I'm happy to help with that as much as possible. Hopefully it's been useful. 32 minutes we ran today, not too bad. Yeah, hopefully this has been useful for everybody, and there's been some good stuff. As always, get your questions into me. I will see everybody next Wednesday. The weather has got slightly better because of this. It's still apocalyptic, but we'll get there in the end. And until next time, have a great weekend, stay safe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Have a good one.